Good evening all. Welcome and thanks for your presence here this afternoon or this evening. My name is Peter O'Connor. I will facilitate or MC this evening, so it's my job to keep you all under control. I'm a foundation member of the Taipans and I've been their lawyer since 2008. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight and the land on which we play our basketball. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and those First Nations people here this evening. I would also like to acknowledge the members of the board of the Taipans who are here this evening. Troy Stone, our chair, Karen Mounsey, Gavin Third and Adam Gowlett. We have apologies from Steve O'Malley, Michael Nelson and Mike Scott who couldn't make it. I'd also like to acknowledge the members of the NBL Group Executive who have joined us this evening. Dave Stevenson, the CEO of the NBL Group, Ben Jenkins, the GM of Marketing, Justin Nelson, who's the Chief Clubs Officer, Ted Hellier, Chief Fans Officer, and Heath O'Loughlin, Chief Content Media Officer. Thank you for being with us, gentlemen. This evening is about hearing from you, the members and supporters of the Cairns Taipans, and providing, where possible, answers to some of the questions you may have about where the Taipans are today and where they hope to go. I'd like to pay my tribute to the board for showing the courage and leadership in providing this opportunity to us all. Many of you would be aware that sadly to date there have been intentionally disruptive, abusive and offensive social media content passed around. Many of those comments are made by keyboard warriors who won't be prepared to stand up and be counted. It has caused and will cause, if it continues, reputational damage to the club and the people that run the club and that are part of the club and the team itself. The board wants, where possible, to bring you up to date with where things are at so that you know where they hope to move in the future, and in particular to try and put to bed some of those idiotic practices by those who are the keyboard warriors. We're lucky to have the NBL executive here this evening. They're in Cairns presently for their annual strategy meeting, which is a vote of confidence in where they think we are. This evening we welcome and expect open, constructive and respectful dialogue. We want full and frank discussion and debate around where we are, where we're going. To facilitate this, can I encourage you all to ensure that none of this meeting today is videoed in any way, shape or form and no photos are taken. The Taipans group will video the interaction so that they can then take away your questions with a view to using those in the future to try and steer where you think it might go. The format will be a short presentation by Troy Stone, the chair, then a short presentation by Dave Stevenson, our NBL group chair, and we'll then open the floor for questions from you, the audience. If you can put your hand up, if you've got a question, someone will come to you with a mic. Please start by providing us with your name and if you represent a company, who that company is. We'd encourage everybody to ask one question only, and we can come back to you at a later time, if there is time, for any more that may have more than one question. Whilst we anticipate the evening will close around 6:30, we'd like to ensure that everyone gets a chance to have their questions asked and answered. If we need to go a bit longer, we will. I'd now like to welcome Troy.
Thank you, Peter. So, again, like Peter said, thank you for everyone coming along tonight. This meeting's been a little while in the making. It's an open Q&A forum for you guys. It's not something I'm going to sit up here and present PowerPoint presentations to you, and neither is the NBL. It just happened to be able to align when the NBL were in town for their strategic fast break meeting that they do every year with every club, and they were happy enough to align that to when we could call a meeting, and you guys can hear from the NBL directly as well as the board and yourselves, which is probably an opportunity that a lot of clubs have never had before, to speak directly to the NBL executive group. And Dave will be up next. I'll throw Dave next, the CEO of the NBL group. It's the NBL group now because Dave is responsible for not just NBL, but NBL 1 and WNBL, all under the NBL banner. So like I said, open Q&A. This is something I've been wanting to do for a little while, probably through, off the back of and through a tough season. And like Peter said, there was a lot of online rhetoric and comments and things thrown around. So I thought, what better way to do it than anyone who wants to come along can ask their questions face to face, and everyone gets the same answers at the same time, directly from the mouth of the person answering the questions. Ask anything you want, nothing hidden. Everything will be completely open and honest. So contrary to some of the reports going around, there is no big announcement tonight. The club isn't in imminent sale. There's no big announcement coming from us or the NBL. Some of the rumours out there must be bad. The NBL are up here. No, they were up here anyway, and they just were able to come to a meeting with us to facilitate this. So there isn't some big strategic announcement happening today, so put that one off the table. What I will do is I'll address a few of the key items that have been socialised around, that have been asked in some of the questions that people have put their questions through prior to tonight, and then I'll throw over to Dave to present to you guys, and then we'll have our open Q&A session. So the big one coming through in most of the questions, privatisation. We've made no secret about the need to privatise. Yes, we absolutely need to privatise. We've been talking about it as being an ultimate goal for probably the last 5 years. Nothing hidden, no hidden agenda. No, there's no imminent buyer ready around the corner to go. Yes, we are speaking with people, various parties, Australian-based, overseas. Anybody can show interest in purchasing Taipans and put an offer forward, whether they're the right people for the job, the right community-focused people, same as we are a community brand and a community club, and that's one of our biggest strengths and needs to continue with any private ownership group. And they've got the ability to run an NBL club, they can put their submission forward. It's up to us to review that, go through the process, and it is a long process. As you know, the Jackies, Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, took 3 years to sell, and they were actively out there looking to sell. We've been talking about selling, we've spoken to people, we've engaged, well not engaged, sorry, we've spoken to the specialised sports brokers around the world who've contacted us with a view to assisting us in the sale of the club. We've met with them as well. They are very expensive, very, very expensive. And it's not something that the club's in a position to engage right now, but we keep those communication lines open as well. We've got to privatise. We've got other clubs out there spending probably more than double what we're spending on our roster, and they're losing multiple millions of dollars a year. I won't name any clubs, but that's the reality of, I won't just say basketball, professional sports in Australia. And that's their choice to do as a private owner, how much they want to invest and how much they are prepared to lose in a year to have success with their team. We don't have that luxury in our current model. We can spend what we've got and what our sponsors and members generously spend with us each year to try and be as competitive as we possibly can. And that's what we do every year. The board has a fiduciary responsibility to the club to not overspend. We have to act in the best interest of the club at all times, which means financial, which means a sales process, which means engaging with people who are interested in purchasing the club. We have a financial responsibility. We can't go out and rack up $3 million worth of losses and go, oh, well, we're trading insolvent now. Doesn't work. That's the reality of where we sit. Do we go out and compete as a club every year, year in, year out? Yeah, we do. And we don't have the contingencies or the ability to bring in new players if we have an injury. And we had a horrible injury run last year. And when we were good and full, we were great. But we don't have those contingencies in place in our current model. So can we compete? We'll always compete. Can we win the competition? And that should be everyone in the room's ultimate goal. It's ours. No, I don't believe we can win the competition if we're not investing in the same level of playing product that other clubs are able to. So that's where we're at from a sales perspective. There's been a few questions around where any sale proceeds will go to. Now, we operate under a set of model rules and a constitution as a not-for-profit club. They are specific in where any money travels from any surplus funds in this business. They're not negotiable. They were put in place by the board in 2009, and there's still the same set of rules that we operate under now. We have a legal responsibility to do exactly that, and we do that every year. And I'll tell you exact wording of what it says. The surplus assets must not be distributed among the members of the association. The surplus assets must be given to another entity, A, having objects similar to the association's objects, and B, the rules of which prohibit the distribution of the entity's income and assets to its members. There is no legal way for money to be paid down to members, and the money that was put in back in the day wasn't put in with that anticipation. Can't be paid to the board, can't be paid to me, can't be paid to anybody else. Any surplus funds, that's how they're dealt with, that's where the rules are written, same rules we've been having since 2009. That's the way the board's been operating, and that's the way we'll continue to operate. There's been some, barbs thrown at the board, I guess, over the last 6 months, and I've said to any media or anyone who wants to say anything, I'll answer any question, as long as it's based in fact, and as long as it's delivered respectfully. Same for the rest of the board. Same for the NBL. Great relationship, working relationship with everybody in the NBL. Nothing to hide. However, there is an opportunity every year if you're unhappy with the board to nominate, run for the board, and put yourself in that position. It's called AGM. Same rules we've always operated under. There's been a few things thrown out there and I'll just address them as I go. Oh, why'd you hold the AGM at midday when no one could attend? What's the reason? What are you trying to hide? Nothing to hide. What we've done is we've held the AGM at 5 p.m, 5:30, 6 p.m. We get the same 3 or 4 people every year attending the AGM. And I thank those 3 or 4 people for attending. We thought we might do it a little bit differently. In the lead up to Christmas, people were on break. Let's try it at midday. Same 3 or 4 people. I would encourage anyone, as many of you who are eligible, to attend the AGM every year. Because then you get the information straight. Not through the rumour mill, not through somebody else's direction of information. Problem being, under the model rules from 2019, a lot of people aren't eligible to attend the AGM, which is why we endeavoured as a board through constitutional change a few years ago to try and change that, to open it up to more people, but it was voted down. And there's nothing we as a board can do about that. So that's why we sit here under the same model rules as we did in 2009, the same position we're in. So when it comes to those sorts of things, that's the way the board operates, that's the way we're legally obliged to operate. Best interest of the club, fiduciary duty, do as much as we possibly can with the money that we have to put a winning product on the floor every season. And we thank our fans, our members, our sponsors for what they do to enable us to do that. But every year it's getting tougher and tougher because teams are spending more, and good on them. I would too if I had that sort of money. It's the nature of professional sports, and we need to change. So I'm not here asking for a decision from anybody. I'm just here telling you how the rules work and what needs to happen. Like I said, someone's asked, why is it taking so long to privatise? Because it's a long process. There's a due diligence process. It's not a small amount of money that these licences are selling for, and people need to go through a process, collate the information, do their own analysis, sit with interviews. Ultimately, they also need to be approved by the NBL as the right person to hold an NBL licence, as probably the final step in a sales process. The NBL doesn't get involved in the sale, but they absolutely have the right to approve or deny a person for a licence, and so they should. I'll just see if there's a couple more here I can tick off on the ownership perspective. There's been a couple of open, honest, truthful about the sale of the Cairns Taipans, real genuine interest. Absolutely, there's genuine interest. We've been speaking to plenty of people. I've just addressed why it takes some time to do. It's not a small transaction. Do we have private ownership now? If so, who? No, we don't. 2 questions. Time frame? Don't have a time frame. Sooner the better, in my personal opinion. Will it be a consortium or a single entity ownership? I can't answer that question. It's anybody is able to put a bid in to purchase Taipans and go through the process. There's been a question raised about the council should buy it. Like I said, I doubt the council would be interested or have the ability to. However, like anybody else, they have the right to put a bid in to purchase against Taipans. Entirely up to them. Question about private ownership, how much say will the new owners go as far as player signings or leave it to the coach or board? Can't answer that on behalf of a potential private owner. A potential private owner, I would think, probably wouldn't have a board. Not many private companies do have a board. They run things themselves, and that's the way I would think a private owner would behave. So I can't answer that question on behalf of a potential owner down the track. But I think with the coaching staff that they've got in hand, any owner would do well to listen to those people as their experts. So that's pretty much wrapped up a lot of the questions that have come through online earlier. The privatisation, open it up to what we're looking to do tonight, and like it's your night, ask your question. Shoot away to anybody you want to. No dumb question. Tonight's the night to ask it while everyone's here. Everyone gets the same information. So I'll throw it over to Dave, and then we'll open to some questions.
Mike, can I stand here? Hey, nice to see you all. What an incredible turn-up. When you think about it on a Thursday night, you've got plenty of other places you could be in beautiful Cairns, and you come and spend some time. It sort of leads me into my first of three things I want to talk about. A bit about you, a little bit about the NBL, and a little bit about the Taipans. Again, the passion, and I'm just going to stop these people from going. It's Massimo, wasn't it, son? Okay, Massimo, can you wave to everyone? Okay, we're going to talk about Massimo in a second, so just make sure everyone's taking a mental picture. Thank you. But when you think about fans, the fact that you've all turned up tonight is fantastic, and the history of this club is phenomenal. Back in 1999, I think it started. Can anyone guess how many teams have been in the NBL over our history? So we've got 10 teams today. How many different teams? Matt, we can't ask you. Anybody else? 6? 26? It's good. Anybody else? 22? 30. So when you think about it, in the 45-year history of the NBL, there's been 34 teams that have been in the NBL. And that's pretty amazing. But when you think of the Taipans since 1999, it's because of the great support that we see in this room. So I want to talk about Narelle. Where's Narelle that I met? Thank you. And your friend Robin, I think?
Yeah, right.
So Narelle just met out the front for the first time. It's not a setup, just a real quick. But long-time member, you said you financially put some money into the club to help.
When we were poor too. Yeah.
Right. But it's people like Narelle and Robin and all of you at one end of the spectrum that have made this club what it is today. And back in 1999, the vision that was set for this club, and here we are 26 years later, still there. And when you think about Massimo, what I wanted to pick him out is, he's the future of the club. And so for me, it's not just about 2025 and the decisions that this voluntary board are making today, but it's a bit about not just for Narelle and Robin, but it's how do we have a strong club that for Massimo in 25 years' time that he's going to enjoy it in the way that all of you and all of us enjoy it. So firstly, just on behalf of the NBL, a huge thank you to all of you, because the strength that you do is the only reason why this club is sustainable. It's the only reason why this club has been in such great operation for 25 years. So one is just on behalf of us, thank you very much. So secondly, just on the NBL, we've had a pretty amazing growth journey. You probably have heard of Larry Kesselman, who bought the league 10 years ago. Really proud to say that in the last 10 years we haven't lost any clubs. And that was a commitment we made, is we won't see any clubs go, because it's really important for us that the fan connections can work. But the NBL's had this great rocket ship ride. Really proud, even this year, to break an all-time season record attendance back from 1994 when they played 50 odd more games. Record broadcast numbers, social media database, every metric you can look at. the league's in a great shape. But again, it's because of the fans and it's because of great clubs that help us do that. There's lots of exciting initiatives. You've probably heard us talk about NBA team coming out for the first time, NBL Ignite Cup, which is a new tournament in season. We've got Euro teams coming out, the Hoops Fest in Perth. There's lots of exciting initiatives that we're trying to continue to grow the NBL, and now with the WNBL becoming part of the group. I want you to have a whole lot of confidence that you can walk out of here knowing the great ride we've been on for the last 10 years will continue for the next 10 to 20 years because we've got some really exciting things coming. And thirdly, I just want to talk a bit about the Taipan. So we do a lot of work at the league. As Troy said, we have these strategy days with each club, spend a lot of time with all of the clubs. It's a really important part of my job. It's a big part of our team's job. And there's a lot of external benchmarking we do. We employ Deloitte, who do benchmarking, at a company called Sportsology, who do benchmarking across the club. And I can be absolutely clear that on so many ways, the Cairns Taipans are an absolute benchmark in lots of ways. So one, we talked about, and Troy talked about the financial return. The fact that the club delivers a strong profit, and when I say strong, anything $1 and above is for me a strong profit. In a league where lots of teams are outspending is just a huge credit to the group. The way that we talk about the Taipans as a benchmark is also that basic principle of how do you keep your expenses below your revenue, and the Taipans have done that. And that takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of hard work, and they deserve a huge amount of credit. There's also a great benchmark when you talk about what Cairns have done in connecting with the community. Even the fact that this night, I don't know if any of our teams, we've never been to one of these. We've never even heard of one of these things happen. And I think it's a great testament to what Troy and Mark and the team have done and how important the community is. When we talk about Troy individually, one of the reasons we asked Troy to come and be on our owners working group. So there's only 3 clubs that are represented. We actually had a meeting today on it. And what Troy's been able to add to that group has been fantastic. So his contribution in our owners meetings, and we've had a couple of challenging clubs, and we're dealing with a few. But the voice of reason that we get from Troy just gives us a huge amount of confidence, and we really appreciate that. And thank you for everything you've done. It's also a benchmark with Mark as the CEO. He keeps telling me he's the longest serving CEO in the league, but that experience and expertise has been invaluable for us. So we've got Mark as one of only 2 CEOs on what we call our NBL Commission that work on a whole range of big league-wide initiatives like negotiating our collective bargaining agreement with the players, working on having input on our broadcast, on our commercial propositions. So just again to you, Mark, a huge thank you for all of the work that you do. And then even today, we had this strategy session, and most of the time when we go around to all the clubs, we get 2 or 3 people each other. And we bring 4 or 5 of our most senior executives. And what we had today was the whole board that gave up their time. I think they're all working. Karen's maybe on a bit of a travel over from New Zealand, but gave up their own time during the day today to come and spend time with us. The exec team who really run off the smell of an oily rag, and the work that they do is absolutely benchmark. Jazz, we were talking about today, some of the incredible work that they've done, even the TAG program, really trying to develop up women's basketball, and they don't even have a women's basketball team, I think just says a lot about the great work. So I guess to wrap up that part is just the level of confidence that we've got from the NBL and the NBL group in Troy, Mark, the board and the executive could not be any lower. Sorry, could not be any lower. Tell I had it scripted, no. But let me say that again. The level of confidence that we have in Troy, Mark, the board, the executive team could not be higher. Because it's incredible what they do. So if I was in your spot sitting in the chair, I'd have a whole lot of confidence in where they're going and what they're doing. There's going to be a whole lot of challenges. Not everything's right. We make a lot of wrong decisions. I'm sure the board and executive team don't get every decision right. That's kind of professional sport, but I just want to say thank you and well done, because You've got great leadership and you're in great hands here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Troy and Dave. I think Dave was just seeing if everyone was awake, and obviously you are. Can I ask who's got the first question? If you put your hand up, we'll get a mic to you. You can fire away.
Are you bringing the Blitz to Cairns?
We would absolutely love to bring the Blitz to Cairns. We think it's a perfect market for it. Our challenge, quite frankly, is getting the financial support from the government to do that. The Blitz we generally lose a little bit of money on, so we need the government support to even get to that point if there. So there's a balance of where we would like to take it and then where we can.
There you go, Matt.
We spent a lot of time, we talked today, all of these events, like the Blitz, we'd love to bring Hoops Fest here, these European team to come. NBA will be harder because of the size of the venue compared to sort of some of the bigger ones in Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, but we'd love to. So it's just a matter of trying to make sure we get the right deal, confidentially, and it can't stay. It can't go outside of this room. But we'll take the Blitz to Canberra, and we'll announce that next Friday. So if I see anything in the media, I'm coming back, getting a list of all the people here, but we'd love to do it in Cairns.
Great question too, because we were advocating for that today. And Mark reminded them that Cairns has hosted the Blitz here in earlier days. So thank you for that.
And all those events, just even working. I'm glad you didn't have the microphone before when you said the low. Anyway, all those events that Dave spoke to, we put our hand up for all of them. We'd love to host anything that we can here in Cairns. It's a great location for anyone across the country or the world to come to. So we're absolutely up for all of it.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question? We're going to let you off because you're supposed to stand and tell me who you are, but... Ma'am.
I'm standing up because I'm an old lady.
Okay.
Gillian Thornton. I would like to know why there hasn't been more information given to us at this time of year. You know, we're now in the middle of June, and we've only just heard that we've got a coach. We've not heard about any new players, or why is there no information?
Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The coaching appointment, as it turned out, we're very happy with 40 coming back. Took longer than we would have hoped. Reason being, we were deep in discussions with overseas coaches, some of which were assistant coaches, going through the NBA finals process, which dragged it out a bit further. Some in Japan going through the Japan finals process, which dragged it out further as well. So would have loved to have had something announced earlier, but we're really happy with where we've ended up with 40 back.
The other thing is, at the board table, we sat there and said, where are we going to invest our money and what do we need? Because, of course, we tax vault, that's through private ownership. Any business owners here who've bought and sold companies understand due diligence and all those processes. So in terms of that, we're going, we can't remain the same. Where do we invest the money? Is it in marquee players? Is it in the coach? And we struggled, we said we have to invest in both. So we actually had to make those financial decisions or set up that and the targets and going, okay, where's the priorities? And we said, well, you need a good coach to attract marquee players, vice versa. So that's the conversation in leading up to this, knowing that we couldn't stay the same. And we've been very fortunate that our sponsors have come to the party for us this year, which is some of the noise in the system going, oh, you must have a private owner because you're doing this and you're talking about that. No, that's about Mark and Mark, the Marks, should be M&M show, going out there and reflecting on the stronger relationships, but also our community. and the importance of the Taipans to this community, but being competitive. That people have come to the table, which allowed us as a board to go forward. This is the strategy, both from a coach and a player point of view. How do we need to make it up?
So when can we expect to hear something?
So players-wise, yes, there hasn't been a great deal of announcements. We're very happy with the players that we've got locked in. We strategically are in a position right now, we're in some very strong negotiations, but we have to keep them extremely confidential. Obviously, we don't want some other club swooping in on the negotiations, but rest assured, if we can pull off what we're pulling off, you'll be very happy and be the first to know. We've still got 3 imports to come. Part of that will be Summer League, part of that is what the guys are looking at the moment, plus the backbone that we've already got. And I think, Dave, on a call a few weeks ago, you mentioned it's probably been the quietest outside of Adelaide, who's thrown the bank at everything, the quietest off-season in player announcements so far across the league, really. I think everyone's being a little bit cautious and coy in the negotiations, but they are absolutely happening. And the negotiations that we're working on right now are very exciting. Not holding back information for the sake of it, just don't have anything to announce right now. Hope to change that very soon.
And the other part of that process is we have to negotiate through players' agents. And of course, reflecting the quietness within the system, there's key players that are trying to get the best deal for the agents are. So it's also working through those relationships. We've had it in the past where we thought we've had people and we've given good offers, and that's just so that they could get their dollar price up to another club. So we're lucky to have the wisdom of the people we've got in our organisation and the relationships they have with player agents as well.
I mean, I can, maybe speaking out of tune a little bit, but I can again give you a name that we tried very hard and we're very close to getting, but he is getting bank where he's going, as has been announced today, and good on him. We couldn't be more proud of where he got to, but we were very close to having Keone Pinder back next season. And the message he sent to 40 was, I would love to come back to Cairns and win a championship with you. It'd be the best thing that's ever happened, but I've got to take this deal. They're the sorts of people we're talking about.
Thank you, Gillian. It's a good question, and I think...
I'll just add to that. I mean, we don't want to sit here and hold anything back. We will give you first rights to that information. All of the season ticket holders get something out from Jazz first up. It is, you guys get it first. It is all about you tonight. We want to make sure you get the information, and if we've got it, we'll give it to you. Until we have that signature on there, and these guys have signed off on it as well, because it's not just us. It's got to go through the agents. It's got to go through the NBL. It's all got to be certified before we can give you that information. So we're not holding back just because we want to hold back. We will let you know as soon as we can.
I just think that, I understand where you're coming from, but I just think that it would have been better to have even done that, 2 months ago, said what you have said now, to let us know earlier that that's what you're doing.
But I take the point, but if you want me to come out with an announcement saying we're working and there's nothing coming off, then I'll come out and say that. You can rest assured that's what we do all day long, 7 days a week.
A monthly email saying, we know we can't announce this, but we are working on it. Something's coming as soon as we can tell you.
Yeah.
We just need something, not a void of information.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gillian. I think it's a fair question, and it is about, I think, there's been very little to say. So do you email out and say we've got nothing to say, or do you wait until there is something to say? And it happens yearly. But anyway, thank you very much. Have I got anyone else with something? The query, yes.
Yeah, so the sponsors are going to make up the shortfall.
Name first. You can't get out.
Russell.
Thank you, Russell.
So the sponsors are going to make up the shortfall in like for a period of time, to sort of bring us up closer to.
We've absolutely had, again, through this process of work in the background, conversations with sponsors who are absolutely prepared to jump in and back us to achieve what we want to try and achieve. Like I've said in media, we're going all in, and our sponsors are with us. I'm with it. I'll throw in as much money as I can, like I always do as well. Mark's thrown his own personal money in before. We're all in.
Yes.
How do our ticket prices?
Name. Paul.
How do our ticket prices compare to the rest of the league?
That's a good
Is that
question.
a Dave question or one of your team down here?
I might defer to the team.
I'd say I'd say they'd be pretty consistent. Yeah, I think they're pretty consistent. So in terms of the match day experience you guys put on, and the average attendance you've been getting, which is really strong, and we've heard plans about how you plan on increasing that this season, which is fantastic, and that's what we're here to support. But from a ticket pricing point of view, pretty consistent. There's different tiers, obviously, from the front all the way to the back, but that's something we've actually got Justin here, who's one of the new resources as Chief Clubs Officer, is going to do a lot of benchmarking with the clubs to work through that as well. So, yeah.
I think as well, the membership value is a 25% discount off the face value of a ticket as well. So that's really, really good value.
Have I got someone else with a query?
Can you just repeat what you said, please?
Oh, it's talking about when we go out with our early bird specials. They're generally
We've
20.
tickets already.
Yeah, did you pick them up in early bird, which were a 25% discount? That's what Ted was talking about. Yeah. Ted's the Chief Fans Officer for the NBL.
Hi, my name's Maurice Jackson.
Maurice.
Why do all our good players only seem to have short-term contracts? Because all the sides that seem to do really well in this league, we've got a base of players that they keep for years and years and years and just keep adding and taking the odd player away. But we seem to, at the end of the season, ours drift away, and then we start with the new side next year. So there's no.
Fair question.
And that's good because that's what it feels like. Feels like that to us as well. So some of the teams that keep their players for a long period of time, they've got the bucks to throw at them to keep them. So they will be on 1, 2, 3 year contracts, probably not longer than that, I would think. But they can renegotiate with them and up their value. For us, so while there's that exception we lose them, so we kept Keanu for a further year. So he was contracted, but he wanted to, even though he got offers at a bigger buck, and the same with Bill Cole, they chose to stay here. So Bill stayed for a further year because he wanted to train and knew he was getting better under Adam. And what Fordy had said to him, and even with Keanu, and again, it stayed in this room because we want to be open and transparent. We'll make you the highest paid Australian player in the league, or up there, the top 3. So that was it. So we were glad that they stayed a further year. We retained them for a year longer than we expected to because we knew we couldn't compete with dollars. So fair question. We'd love to keep some of those people. I think we're lucky with 40. When I go around and attend games, ex-players are always coming up and talking to them. When we went over, when they played in the States, so I went over as part of my holiday plans with a mate, went to the games, and what's his name there, we went to Brisbane. He had the knee, I just forget his name, Casey Prather. So Casey, he was rehabbing. He came to the game to catch up with 40 when we were in Washington, because 40 is a leader. He's one of the best leaders I've seen from a recruitment of coaches, being part of that process. He's all about strong relationships, but really honest relationships. And they respect him for that. So he has those long-term. So I agree, it feels like that for us too. But in the background, we actually retain some of those key players for longer than we expected. Even though they're getting chucked higher offer from money, for them it's more valuable to stay here for a further year and consolidate what they're learning and how they're playing unfortunately.
And the other part to it is, like, your agents have got a job to do. Players have got a limited time span in their life to make as much money as they can. Agents have got a job to do. We'll make an offer. They'll go and shop it to 3 other clubs, and sometimes it's the highest bidder wins. You see some of those guys who go on to some of those clubs and we never see him. Mello Trimble, great guy. Was fantastic for us. Went to Melbourne, didn't work. So that happens. A lot of the time it comes down to the dollars, but sometimes they stay around because they know this is the best environment to them. You know what? I'll take a bit less money next year, but Keanu, I'm going to Perth and I'm going to make a heap more money. And they play a longer game. Depends on the athlete and the agent.
He went home.
Yes.
There's been talk about community-owned and foundation members that comprise the Taipans. How would that go with privatisation? Where will the proceeds go?
That's what I spoke to in my first presentation when I read out the rules on how any surplus funds are dealt with.
Serena, if I can answer that from a legal perspective, when the Taipans organisation was established, there was a set of model rules which is akin to a constitution. What will actually happen is the Taipans itself, the entity won't be sold. It'll be the product that it has, the NBL licence will be sold, and then the funds will come into the organisation. Pay out whatever's needed to be owed and then pass to another organisation of like mind. So, as Troy mentioned, it'll always stay in the not-for-profit sector, one way or another. And there are many out there who will benefit from it. Without stating the obvious, Cairns Basketball, for example, similar organisation, also a not-for-profit, so it might get some benefit. But there could be, a women's organisation in netball, or who knows. That's to be decided by the board at the end of the day, and I would expect with consultation of members. But it doesn't go to anybody, any individual owner. Yes.
Hello. I'm Daniel.
Hello, Daniel.
This is staged. I had the next question. I'm with Cairns Basketball. So I just have a quick question regarding the community engagement part of it. I understand the move to privatisation with the salaries going up and everything, but there seems understand the value add of getting key players like Keanu Pinder, but keeping key community players and administrative players like Kerry Williams can do a lot more benefit to the community as well. And just want to know that I have another question after this as well, what the club is involved with of keeping key community players, and also your responsibility in developing the players like Kerry Williams and like Cody and the future ones that will come in popular and be a part of the team.
Yeah, I think we do that better than anybody else in the league, to be honest with you. We support and develop those guys. Kerry has been with Cairns Basketball and Taipan since he was a kid. Kerry has chosen to go to Adelaide and had a very tough conversation with Mark, who's been around Kerry since he was a kid, on his decision why. And I'm sure Kerry won't mind me saying it. His decision to go to Adelaide was he needed to get out of his comfort zone. He needed to get out of Cairns, spread his wings, and prove that he's got what it takes in an organisation that he hasn't been around for his whole life. Other juniors that get developed, we absolutely watch, and we've probably brought more juniors as a capita through than any other club. We have to be a development club.
Yes.
Because we don't have the budgets at this stage of other clubs. So we've always had to be a development club. We spoke about it today. It's one of our key strengths, and will always be one of our key strengths.
Absolutely.
And hence when we talk about our community brand and our community mind, that will always be one of our biggest strengths in whatever private ownership it is.
So, yeah, and I heard that as well, and you applauded it as well, talking about Taipan's Academy, Girls Academy. There isn't enough girls playing basketball just in general. There needs to be more. But, and you mentioned Massimo, who I'm a volunteer, individual, on a Sunday morning, but the volunteers are what get the kids into the sport, and all those professionals had a volunteer that was one of their coaches. So the only thing I can say about that is if not speaking on behalf of the club, working with you guys, but if we will get a chance to work with you, and you can have a lot more outreach to the community, and it's okay if we're losing, if we see some more people from the community a part of the team, more locals in it instead of just ring-ins from that. And I think as well, just thinking about the good feel-good stories that was popular last season in the NBL, Ben Henschel, Perth is a privately owned team, and Ben Henschel got notified when he got seen as a prospect when he was 10 years old in an outreach program. So stuff like that, in affiliation with the community, with Cairns Basketball, that would be a really good thing, I think.
And that is what we do. And 40 and the coaching team, and Will's up the back here, they keep an eye on every junior playing in every league. Mark, our CEO, sat as the chair of Cairns Basketball for I don't know how long, across all of that sort of stuff. Absolutely. If there's a kid who's good enough to make it at the NBL level, we're all in.
Okay.
No doubt whatsoever.
You might not see it at 10, but they might get there just in case we have the support that's around them too. Just that.
Thank you, Daniel. Narelle, you had a question, I think.
I had a question for Dave, actually.
Wow, tough one.
Having been a basketball fan for a number of years, I've seen a lot of changes come across. One of them that's always kind of stuck with me that I don't really like, and I wonder why the NBL has actually changed it, is no longer having the national anthem played, seeing it's a national sport.
Yes.
Yeah, great question. I don't know what the history of that is in terms of where we've been. I've only been in the NBL group for a couple of years. Generally speaking, it's a club decision. We don't mandate that from the NBL. Some clubs decide to do it more often than others. And then most of them, if they do it, it's more ceremonial if there's a special event around it. But that's ultimately a decision for the clubs to make.
And the change originally came about to fit a broadcast window. The change originally came about to fit the broadcast window.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Well, so broadcast is obviously a key part to the NBL and funds that flow down to the clubs through distributions these days that we didn't have up until probably 3 years ago, and I thank the NBL for that. But the broadcast TV have a window that they need to operate in, and we have a 2-hour entertainment product that needs to fit in there. So when that change was made,
But you don't do the national anthem, so...
it was made to fit in that broadcast window when it was made.
Thank you, Narelle. Do I have another question? Does our newest member of parliament have a question that would enable him to take anything? Sorry, Matt.
Matt wants to know why he didn't get to MC.
Yes, sir.
My name's Grant Fawcett. I'm one of the minor sponsors for Grassroots Couriers. It's been in my mind about the expansion of the Taipans, and is the plan just to stay as we are for the coming 10 and 25 years? So here at Massimo is going to be a Taipan supporter for the next 25 years. So are we thinking of expansive? I know the response to the April Fool's Day trick of playing games in Townsville was one of the biggest responses I've ever seen. And it was a joke. But to me, it's not a joke. We live in North Queensland, whether we like it or not, and those guys down there, our hated neighbours in Brownsville, do have the most successful women's team in the country. And there is a number of sponsorship opportunities that open up for both teams. And with the NBL now having the WNBL under its banner, is the NBL management going to be open to looking at creative opportunities to expand double headers, having women and men play together at the same time, to bringing the sponsors from one side to the other? And I know this is a very difficult subject to talk about, but our budget at the moment, without knowing it offhand, is somewhere in the vicinity of 20 to 25% of a Melbourne or a Sydney we're trying to operate on. We've been fantastic at developing young players, but we just can't keep them, and our eye for talent is better than anything. Our results speak that we have the basis, the board, the coaching, the player management and development, the community support. How are we going to expand? Don't forget there's an Olympics in 2032, and there's about 28 hectares of spare land out at Smithfield there at Jabberkai, which has just been bought by a sporting organisation. So are we thinking of expanding, getting our budget up to 50% of these big players and being able to keep the talent that we develop?
Yes. Excellent question. And it's actually reminded me of another question we had online. A few answers in there. One, yes, we are absolutely on board for expansion. Have spoken with the NBL over the last couple of years about potentially taking a couple of games away from Cairns. Townsville, Darwin, wherever the financials stack up to do that. We actually have an employee from our hated cousins. Where's Rod gone? Over here. Townsville Crocs stalwart, however, he's now on board with the Taipans, and he lives in Townsville. But one of his tasks is going to be to work on getting a game to Townsville. Now, with the NBL bringing 2 extra games in to this season, gives us an opportunity to look at doing that. Can we pull it off this season? Maybe not. Do we want to pull it off by next season? Absolutely, 100% do. WNBL, we have flagged our interest in a WNBL program and women's. Jazz did a fantastic job with TAG, our Taipans Academy for girls. Have flagged that. No pressure, Dave. You know, we'd love WNBL. We spoke about it today. So yes, on the agenda as well. I think Taipan's game in Townsville would be well received down there. They're starved. They're fantastic women's basketball, starved of men's basketball. We've got the other option, starved of women's basketball at the professional level. So yeah, I think it will be well received, and it's something that's on the agenda for sure. I'll just finish on this one. The question that came through was, will the Ignite tournament games be included in our membership? So 2 additional games. I'll answer that one first. No, they're not, because we sell our season tickets on a 14-game season. And we also have the additional cost of hosting another game. So everyone will get the 14 games that they've paid for in the membership, like they always have. Whether we do them in Cairns or Townsville or Darwin to spread our wings, that comes at a cost as well. So we can't absorb that cost. It's not cheap to put an event on at the Cairns Convention Centre. So no, they're not included in that 14 games that we pay for every year.
If you do go to Townsville, can we go down?
Of course, absolutely. When we used to play the Crocs, we used to have, back in the days of Skytrans, they used to put flights on for fans to go down there. Absolutely. Sorry, Karen.
No, I was going to say, you must be another one that was listening today, because these are exactly the same conversations. The points you was about growth and how do we do that, and also talking about how do we have the opportunity, so the NBL is really keen to support clubs in areas that we can expand to take the game, because everyone wins with that. You get more eyes on, you get more kids engaged. The heroes are playing, it's all that sort of stuff and also, as you say, from a sponsorship point of view, it opens it up, because this community has been really generous, and we've probably saturated, people like you who open their checkbooks. I said checkbooks to support us, because tickets, the sales we get for people attending the games, that's sort of, it's a small piece of our revenue. It doesn't pay, it doesn't even pay for our 9 people that work in the non-team space, our operation. So it's all around sponsorship. It's the stuff, as Dave alluded to, is about how the NBL supports us, and some of the funds that. So we've been privileged to be the recipient of the salary subsidy grant money in the past, which is small. That's the luxury tax. So you know how some of these clubs, they spend, we've got salary floor, salary cap, it keeps moving every year, and we go, oh God, we've got to meet the salary floor. How are we going to do that? And so we have to put in a very robust business case, and it's a separate trustee group to go, this is what we need so we can meet the salary floor, otherwise it comes out of operational costs, or we can't do this, that we have to deliver on. So all those sorts of things, and that's about us within that whole professional basketball ecosystem. It's actually beneficial to everyone sitting in this room, the NBA, NBL, us, the rest of the clubs, because if we get better, the value for owners gets better too. So licenses years ago, you'd probably pick up a licence, sell a team for $1 million, something like that, if you're lucky. They're going for multi-million dollars now. So you can see where Larry's taken the league has been a benefit for everyone.
The other thing is the Olympics. Sorry to butt in. The Olympics coming up in 2032 gives us an opportunity to build a stadium here, which is a basketball stadium. That'll that'll see. That is exactly why I'm saying it, because of who's standing behind us.
Conversations have
It is
already-
the perfect opportunity to get an 8 to 12,000 seat stadium.
Conversations have already happened, have started with Matt and with the state government as well. Conversations have been had, 100% on board.
Thank you. That's actually
And
a very
it
good
would also
question.
make it much more beneficial for a private owner to come in and purchase a team that's got a purpose-built 6,000 to 8,000, 12,000 seat stadium.
That's a really good question. And for those of you who haven't yet used Grassroots Couriers, you need to.
And just quickly, Dave, from the NBL, from a couple of games outside of Cairns, you guys will be all over that.
Yeah, we're hugely supportive of it.
Double headers?
Yeah, there's already in Sydney they do some double headers between NBL and WBL. A little easier, it's the same organisation who owns both. But we as sort of an organisation, we're open for anything. We're really keen to explore, and everything we try and do is, one, how do we support great clubs like the Taipans? How do we grow fans? How do we grow commercial? That allows us to invest back into it. So for those, we'd be really supportive.
Thank you, Matt.
I might just go to the second part of the online question. One was about those additional games.
Matt's got a question.
Oh, Matt's got a question straight up.
It's just a lot of stuff seems to be directed at me. No.
That's
Thank
fine.
you. I'm taking anything from someone from Townsville. That's still someone's crowd.
So are you still going to be like the
Announcer?
announcer?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Of course. That's what I do. That's what I've done. Cairns basketball and the Cairns Taipans are a massive, massive success story in their own right. I was in the room when the previous iteration of the Taipans died, and I was involved when the new Taipans came. We are the only junior club in the country to put 2 players into the NBA, which is Nathan Jawai and Aaron Baines. That's nothing. The biggest clubs in Melbourne can't hang their head on that. Shanice got drafted to the WNBA by Los Angeles as well, so we're getting it done in both the men's and women's sports. The strength of Cairns has always been the community. The way that this community rallied in 2009 to bring this club back from extinction during the GFC when people were on their knees was nothing short of astounding. It's one of the reasons that I put my hand up for politics, because I know how much this community will drive for something that it really wants. So I think everyone needs to be proud of what has been achieved here over the last 20 years. There's been nothing short of spectacular, keeping it afloat through good times, through bad times. That's some really heady success. To have players want to stay when more money is available elsewhere is a miracle. Players like to feel loved, but players like to feel dollars more. So to have a guy like 40 decide to come back, that will attract high-level talent. It will give us that opportunity to attract more talent. This is a very proud club and a very proud town, and private ownership is going to be the way forward for us. And I congratulate the board on their efforts in getting that done for us. In the meantime, we'll continue to support. The conversations have started around WNBL team and a new stadium. Dave, I look forward to working with you more on that as well. I've been flagged with Anna, Chris been flagged with Jim Chalmers. So that's something that we're looking forward to continuing those conversations. This is not an announcement. This is not a guarantee. We are having conversations. And it's something, women's sport is something that has been neglected for so long. Jazz has done a fantastic job with TAG, and as we've already seen with Shanice, we are going to be able to get that women's talent to the top level. You've done a great job of developing our juniors. The amount of juniors that came through the Taipans just when I was there and then went on to be either NBL players or stalwarts in the NBL 1 is phenomenal. This is a basketball town, and the Taipans are a big part of the community here. So thank you for putting this on today. It's really great to still have that connection between ourselves and the basketball club.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate that.
You got a question? Yep.
You mentioned about 2 of our in-season tournament game not being included our memberships. One of our games is scheduled, one of the home games is on New Year's Eve.
Good, excellent point, and I was going to get to that one as well. One of them is scheduled on New Year's Eve. We would never take that away from the community. We'll choose a different game, and we spoke to the NBL about that today. So New Year's Eve will absolutely be our key game, like it always is, and your guys' tickets are absolutely locked in for New Year's Eve. Excellent point there.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you, Honourable Matt Smith. I just wanted to say that for the first time and it felt right. One of the other key ones I just wanted to end the two-part question was, will members be invited to attend end-of-season awards, presentation, celebration? I'm sure many of us would like to go and celebrate our team even if there's a cost to attend. Absolutely. Outside of the one we just had after last season, which was a much more scaled-down version, we love having the members there. It makes for a great event when we can have 300 people in the venue. Problem is, the season before when we did it, we copped heaps of flack from people saying it's too expensive, why are you charging so much? And we thought, well, let's do a scaled-down version this year then. The reason it's so expensive is it's bloody expensive to put on an event like that here at the Pullman or anywhere to that calibre.
Yeah.
To be clear, we don't make money out of those events. We lose money on those events. But they're a key event for our supporters, our members, our fans, our sponsors. Love having a room full of 300 people there to celebrate end of season. And if everyone is keen to go, absolutely we'll open that up to our members. Absolutely.
Excuse me, can I just... Beck, you have a question?
I just on that
Name.
point, Beck, sorry, Massimo's mum. I just had a question, just thinking about that end of season awards and things like that. Could we look at it at an aspect of maybe making it more family friendly and just having the awards announced and changing it a bit, you know? So then it is a bit more of a community event and not so much a gala dinner and still get the same result. I don't know.
I'm hearing yeses and no's over here.
I see
Look,
both
realistically,
sides.
yeah, I get it. And people love to dress up and have the gala event. But there's no reason, and we do other family-orientated events as well, so there's no reason we couldn't do something family-orientated in addition to that as well.
Just on that...
Name, please.
Siobhan.
Thanks, Siobhan. Can't get away with it twice.
Yeah, when I first started attending, you guys used to have it. Used to have family of things at the restaurant where you could go along and meet the players. Yeah, I mean maybe something like that could be a compromise. I mean the event at Tobruk's good, but it's blimmin' hot. So you know, being able to go and get a meal, and I mean that was the first time I attended something, and it made a real impression at that time. Jared Kenny just coming up and talking to me as a Kiwi, you know, he can vouch for it, you know. He was my player from that point on, and I didn't feel connected to the players at all last season. The other part of that is the casino and communication. The amount of times we've turned up to the casino and you guys haven't, or you turn up and the players stand in a little huddle together, and I get they're young and it's daunting to go and approach people, but to build those relationships with the crowd, that's what they need to do. It's part of their job, part of what they're being paid for, you know.
I'll answer the first part of that question and probably hand it off for the second. But, yep, Taipans Tuesday is absolutely fantastic. I was part of that when it first came around as well. Jazz put up a calendar today. The NBL puts a lot of requests through of what the players need to do, and through the bargaining agreement of what the players have to do, days off, when they can work, when they can't work. There was not a lot of white days left on that calendar in that 6 months that they were effectively contracted to. So yes, we'd love to do a lot more out in the community. We have a lot of commitments that we have to do for sponsors. We have a lot of commitments we have to do for the NBL. And it does make it limited based on that enterprise agreement that they are currently working under. It is difficult, yep, put our hand up and say, yeah, let's try and do some more, but it's fitting it into that schedule that we are really limited to. In regards to the casino, who wants to...
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Gavin said, we have spoken about doing those sorts of Taipans Tuesdays, but there's only certain availability. We can say to the guys, you're booked in for a fan event on this day or this night, and the worst thing we could do is put something on and make it optional and two of the players turn up. So it's not a great experience there either. Casino, yeah, take it on. I'd love to fix that sound system up the top there. We do put out when the guys aren't going to, and generally when the guys aren't going to be there, it's because they've got an early flight the next morning to go and play a second game that weekend. We do put it out through various channels. Maybe we can put it out more often. Yeah, you're right on the guys being young and a bit shy at times. We do encourage them to get in there and chat with people. I guess sometimes it's easier after a win than it is after a tough loss. But yeah, take it on board. Sorry, Cameron, you going to add?
I was just going to say the other thing I think which is different from when we were having Taipans Tuesdays is they're playing more games now. So their travel schedule, like home and away, so as Troy said, going up to the casino, and in terms of their recovery and all the requirements, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and then catching a flight the next morning. So that's the other thing which has changed within our context.
Thank you, Siobhan. Do I have anyone else? Dennis?
Peter, I want to ask you a question about if there's a sale, does the board make the decision or do the foundation members?
Dennis, my understanding of the Constitution is that it will be a decision of the board, not the foundation members. I would expect there would be a consultation process, but I guess that remains to be seen. But having looked at it, I think the answer is the board.
Under the current rules, that's
correct.
And
under
also
the
the other
current
thing
rules.
would be when you're going through the sale with that due diligence process and the confidentiality agreement. So whoever's coming, like we might have an ideal buyer, but in terms of the confidentiality that they require in terms of any agreement. So it's those sorts of things. But that's something that we get advice. Also, we work with Peter closely on what are our requirements and how do we fulfill these. So he advises us, and it's really great that we've got someone advising us who's been part of this organisation since the Save the Taipans days.
And it's great to have Peter here to answer questions like that from a legal perspective, who was instrumental in the designing of the rules and constitution.
I've got to thank Dennis for tipping me in 17 years ago to do it.
But that said, like I said earlier, the board also has a fiduciary responsibility to the club, a responsibility to do what is in the best interests of the Taipans at all times.
Yes. Hello, Eda.
The board's currently looking for buyers for the Taipans, so it's going to business as usual at this stage. So what happens if a buyer comes through halfway through the season?
Yep, absolutely. Good point. It doesn't need to happen prior to the season. I would love to see it prior to the season, but that's my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board in that regard. But can happen mid-season. Player contracts, there's a lot that needs to happen as well. Player contracts need to go across to the new organisation. Agreements with the NBL need to go across the new organisation. Corporate sponsorship agreements need to go across the new organisation, but there isn't any reason why it couldn't happen at any point.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, yes.
Was tonight's meeting put on the Taipans website? So I didn't see it.
Yes. I can't answer that question.
You would think a meeting like this would be on the Taipans website.
20 people just said it was, so I'm going with them. Any more questions?
Going back to Kerry Williams, is there any names in the frame for his replacement?
Oh, there's one standing down the back of the room in Will, who is a...
Quite a replacement, obviously.
Well, yeah, they were tight. Yes, 40 and Will, 40's overseas at the moment. Otherwise, we would have brought him along tonight as well. He's over with a 3-on-3 tournament. But 40 and Will are working on Kerry's, can we say replacement? I don't know, it's hard to replace Kerry. Good dude, part of the family. And it's sad to see him go, but we're proud of where he's gone to and what he's doing. But yes, those guys are actively, and that's our coach's call on those roles.
Yes. Russell, second
Are we
go.
looking at a next start of the season?
Always looking at a next star. Always open to a next star. Tough part with the Next Stars program is the money that's being thrown around over the states in the NIL program now. But NBL is still very supportive on the Next Stars program, different ideas on how it's to be structured, how it could work better, and we always put our hand up for a Next Star, absolutely. You want to add to that?
Yeah, just to give you a sense, when Troy talked about the NIL money, some of our targets that we're speaking with, they're being offered between $6 and $7 million a year US to play college.
You just broke Alex Loughton's heart right there. And Maddie's.
So part of that pivot is how do we can't just win on money, but we have to win on development. So again, the choice that the board made with Adam helps a lot in attracting new stars. The sophistication of our league helps a lot. Obviously living in a beautiful place like Cairns helps a lot. So we try and sell the whole package, not just about the dollars.
I want to say something. Just going back to when you were asking about coach and some of the announcements, one of the things has come out of the process while we've been interviewing coaches from Japan, from America and everything else, we've built some fantastic relationships that we didn't have before. So when you're talking about players, and Dave's just talking about players, we've got some instant players that we would have never had a chance to look at by going through the process. So I understand why it's slow, but the results coming out of it's actually been 100% worthwhile. It's been probably one of the best things for the club.
Okay, I think with that we might wind it up unless anyone has an absolute last pressing question. Number 3 better be quick.
It's actually for Will, because it's more of a coaching question, and I know that I don't know a lot, but why have we got, when so many players are injured, why do we have players just sitting on the bench who don't seem to be getting game time?
That is a good question. Look, if it was just as simple as giving everybody game time, we would love to do it. And I get there's an attachment to people, certainly like Cody, who are the local boy and everybody cheers for it. We do it on a development basis in terms of when everybody asks about, are we looking at players? If you came in and saw mine and 40s and Kerry's when he was here, our depth charts, we follow every Australian kid that's in college, every American kid that's in college, every Australian that's playing overseas, every Australian that's playing in the NBL, every Australian junior kid at the COE, under 17s. Kerry and I attended under 18 nationals. We have eyes on every possible person that we can, including imports. The list of imports I have to go through is ridiculous. But so we have that there. And then in terms of our structures, we have, like they said on the schedule, I think it's 87 practices this year, which are all videoed, which are all reviewed, which plays into our development. So to answer your question, the opportunities that we believe and what our coaching philosophy is that they're earned, and it's not just through injury, but it's through your work and your body of work throughout the daily grind of the practices, the extras you put in, the video reviews we do. And whilst there's some that potentially we don't see a lot of, or maybe people want more, there is success stories too in the likes of Ben Eyre, Alex Higgins-Titcher, who when injuries have happened, they've made the most of them and they've had blossoming careers from that. So yeah, to give you a little bit of background, we would love to be able to play, what do we end up with, all 13 or 14 guys. It's not possible, and yes, some people would like certain opportunities for more, and that's not to say, for example, guys like Cody that maybe don't get the opportunities they would have wanted last year. It's not that we're not working with him every single day, including now in the off season, which he makes me rebound for him. But yeah, so that's the general basis of kind of the way we operate.
Thanks very much.
Tiz, I'm glad I bailed you up at the office today and made sure you're coming along tonight. But yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone for attending. Great questions. Happy to answer, like I said, any question, any point in time. We'll do this again. If everybody's happy to do something like this again, I just find it easier if everyone speaks face to face and everyone gets the same information at the same time. So thank you all for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
And I think, thank you. Very good. I was going to say a round of applause for the board and the NBL people, but you've already done it, but maybe a second go. And thank you all for being here. It's great to see you participating. Watch out for the news cycle.
And thank you, Peter, for hosting.
Anytime.
And everything else you do.